Good morning, y'all. So this morning I want to take you through my short list and what I'm looking at when I shortlist a stock. So bring it from one list to another. And the reason I bring my stocks over to a separate list is because I want to keep an eye on them because I think that there might be a setup during the day or midday, morning, whatever. So the first one I have is JPM. And what I am seeing here is that this is where it first pulled back after its breakout from here. So it broke out, it pulled back, and that pivot is where JPM tested yesterday and pulled up. So it could be that this is as short as it gets, the pullback, and then doesn't need any more digestion. And if that's the case, oh, by the way, it has earnings on October 14th, so I wouldn't stay in this very long myself. I just noticed that. So, but let's keep going. Pullback. What I'm looking for is price to rise above the moving averages here on the hourly. And further, I want this is the 15 here. So I want this to stop happening, right? Meaning I want to see this start rising. So we're still pretty flat here, down, 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 down. Now this, if we talk about stages, that I always talk about stages, you can apply them to each time frame. Right now this is a stage one, it's not rising. And here, what I'm looking for is to actually start rising. And I want this, and I want the hourly, I'll go back to the hour, to be above the moving averages here. That would signal me for an entry, or it may signal me to sit and watch price and see if I have an entry on the pullback. Because what'll happen, and what sometimes happens, is it'll go up and then come back to retest. And as long as that retest is holding above all of this, then I'm like, okay, it's a higher low. I'm happy with that. And I would get in and ride that one out. So JPM and AXP, very similar in that. Just looking for the smaller charts because this is already set for me. I like how this looks. It went up, pull back. Same thing here. It's testing around the area that it pulled back. And so I'm just looking for the smaller charts to align with my bigger chart, which if this is just a pullback, then my bigger chart is already in an uptrend. RMBS, I smile because I had wanted to get in this many times. And what a great run here. Congrats to whoever captured that. And what I'm looking for is same. I like how it looks here. This could be a pullback. I will say that I've seen RMBS test my lavender line is my 20 EMA, and I've seen it test here first, so it may come down here first before it moves up. But we'll see how the price develops on the 15-minute and the hourly chart. Reddit, I don't think it's going to be ready today. It's still in a decline on the daily, but this may be a bottom. Same with Meta, which I talked about in another video. This may be, look, they look very similar. So if this is the bottom, then I just want price to start trending up and at least capture or get near to this area here around the 10 EMA on the daily. It could be more of a V bottom in terms of, sometimes things need a little bit more time and they develop like this and then they pop up. Sometimes it's a little bit sharper. So I will keep an eye on that. If there's a lot of volume and I can see people piling into here, then I may take an option trade on it. This one, ABBV, I remember one time I was in this. A lot of times I don't know what the companies are. I just know I trade a lot of tickers that are just high volume and very liquid. And I didn't know what ABBV was. And they had some clinical trial or something that went wrong. And I immediately lost 80% of my option value the next morning when it opened. And I was like, oh, maybe I need to pay attention to this and its particular news. So here, it looks like a very clean pullback to here. Sometimes these pullbacks need a little bit of sideways, and it could be, another day or two before they're ready to take off. If you're looking here at the hourly, what I see here is it seems to have found some kind of bottom, and then I'm looking for this to start picking up and rising, just like I said on the other stock. So I want to see the 15-minute and the hourly start to move up. All right, hold on. Let's take a sip here. All right, so, okay. I am on the fence let's talk about this as a missed entry. The reason it's missed is because there was definitely an entry yesterday. This is a good example of what we're looking for. I'm gonna pull this up. Let's see if I can pull this up so you're seeing the 15-minute. Okay. Well, let's look daily first, right? Daily's got that daily gone sideways, and the moving averages are super close. I like that tightness. That's what I look for. And then we start to see that here it was holding, flushed out a little bit more, and then picked back up. The reason this is not a good place to enter is because yesterday was. And this is what we want to see. So here, let me pull it up a little bit more. Okay, this is my 15-minute. This is what we want to see. So on the other stocks that I have shortlisted, we want to see this, and then if it's ready to go up, you'll see a pullback, but it's going to be a pullback that stays above the initial breakout. So here, even on the hourly, we are now trending up, and we have pulled back here. So around, this is 130, 230. So right here, around 230, the eBay pulled back to this moving average, the 20 EMA on the hourly chart, and then reversed. So getting in sometime on the reversal would have been the best bet, and it probably would have been, so here, once it started to capture the moving averages on the 15-minute chart, that would have been a great entry. And the reason you want to get in tight when you're trading options is because there's a timer on them, right? Depending on how much time you buy. And that time affects the price of the options. So you want to get in as tight as you can. You don't want to get into something and, like, for example, you don't want to get in here when everything is extended on the smaller charts, and then you bought at 92.68, and then you lost $1 of value on the stock, which is going to affect your option, right? Your option's going to be out of the money just from the beginning. So we're looking to get in here where we've already verified momentum. It's just pulling back, we think, right? Anything can happen. And then we want to go back up. You want to get in while it starts to move up on the moving averages. So this one for me is a no because I have missed it. And doesn't mean I can't join in later, especially if, let's bring this back down. Yeah, so looking back on the daily on here, if this does go up, there will be a chance on the daily, there will be a pullback on the daily that will be a tradable setup for an options trade or short-term stock play. And then the last one here. All right, so this one, not a total missed entry. I still think there's potential. I think that, I mean, I do see the pre-market is up here already, so the entry would have been here around 22, like 22.44, somewhere where we recaptured the lavender line here, because we're already in an uptrend, and you can see that on the, well, an uptrend. It's trending up. I want to say trending up because it can also roll over. So the 15-minute trended up. It came back to test, but it didn't come back to this area here. The best entry for this one would have been this. This is what I love to see, is we're starting to go up, so higher lows, higher highs, and then we have this like tight consolidation. And these are those volatility contraction patterns that when you see them, they have potential to pop up like this. So this one did pop up, but it did come to retest the gap where it did pop up on, so right here. And the gap retest would have been an entry. Maybe even that pullback yesterday would have been fine too. So a little harder because this is, in my opinion, a little bit more jumpy. It's not as smooth as some of the stocks, but when this one gets going, it gets going. So that's probably the reason for the volatility. So that's what I've got for you. And this is how I review what I'm going to trade and what goes on my short list. Those are the things I'm looking for. eBay is a great example of, you know, these, I mean, this one too, quantum computing also. These are great examples of like where you could have entered. So somewhere here in the tightness, and then eBay here when it retested so cleanly. This is what I'm talking about, how much smoother this chart is. So it's just kind of going along here, and it had that clean retest. And yeah, we'll see how everything plays out today. All right, y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye.